So let's get right into this real quick. Attorney Walter Hnot, you know who I am. You know what we do. We go live for about 30 minutes. It's not supposed to be this late, but it is this Monday. The way this video works is we take about 30 minutes, you get a 5-minute phone call. You get to ask me whatever question you want about Social Security disability benefits, could be SSDI, SSI. The phone number you call into is the 407-279-1754. Again, 407-279-1754. We're starting on June 24th at 1:54 a.m. in the morning. So we're going to be doing 30 minutes from 1:54 a.m. until basically just, 2, let's say 20, whatever, you know what I mean? So bottom line is this, couple of things. When you call in, use a fake name. No, I can't give you a perfect answer to your legal question. I don't know your entire claim. A lot of people call in and ask me after telling me about 10, quick things. Do I have a good claim? Do they have a bad claim? Sometimes I can give you some directions. Sometimes, I don't want to say something sad. All right, we got the first call. Let's get to it. Here we go. Speaker is on. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. We are live on YouTube. Remember to use a fake name throughout this process. What is your legal name? Go ahead.
Hello, Walter. Been here for a year.
Cool.
You can call me Clover.
Excellent.
I call in. This is, also might help others in this type of situation.
Okay.
In fact, it actually happened today. I talked to my primary care doctor. It's about fibromyalgia,
Okay.
if that's how pronounced. He is in the thought that fibromyalgia is a catch-all if there is no other prognosis or diagnosis for the symptoms. Thing is, most of my medical issues that fit with fibromyalgia have already been tied to prognoses and diagnoses and have for a few years and are continuing treatment. Would it hurt my claim to get him to diagnose fibromyalgia or just list all the issues already diagnosed separately?
Well, it's not going to hurt your claim to have a diagnostic impression including it, because then it's like one more thing to throw in the pile. And the reality is this: while you may say all the symptoms are accounted for, the doctor may be doing you a favor here by giving you another, actual medical condition that additional symptoms can be added on to as you realize what they are. The other thing too is that, it's usually a catch-all for a lot of people, because at the end of the day, the main problem that, kind of is faced with a lot of individuals is that doctors don't realize what the problem is when the problem starts to show up, arise, whatever. And as a result of that, what happens is, people basically say, oh, I'm so bad because of this, and this. And, fibromyalgia is a bunch of sensitivity spots all over the body where the person feels pain or feels some sort of reaction. So when it comes down to fibro, a lot of judges are very, very they are sensitive to the subject because, it's kind of like somebody claiming they have anxiety, but there's no medical evidence that's like really strong for it. Sometimes that can be hurtful to the claim. But the main thing is, I guess what I would ask you, what symptoms is the doctor, symptoms and signs, what symptoms and signs is the doctor using to attribute validity to the diagnostic impression of fibromyalgia?
Well, I was asking him for what with all my years of issues of frequent migraines, I have chronic pain, physical and emotional traumas. I have increased sensitivity to light, non-restorative sleep apnea, cognitive functions, long-term pain and fatigue, all these, stiffnesses in muscles and joints. But I have multiple issues with my back, 7 discs in a row, degenerative disc disease. There's a whole bunch of things, but he was explaining to me that all those situations for like fibromyalgia is he was explaining like a catch-all, but my medical record already has all these as separate. That, like you were saying, some judges might judge fibromyalgia as like a catch-all. It might be better to keep them separate and have all the medical files that are already there and continuing treatment that's going on. That's what I was wondering about. I understand that fibromyalgia is listed into the SSDI's list, green sheet, whatever they call it. That's what I was wondering. That's why I was just wondering about the question. I mean, I could probably get him to do it, and I've talked to him a day about getting the specific wordings and stuff about work-related situations, and I'm going to work on a list for him to start putting that in my medical record. You know, due to this prognosis and or diagnosis, you know, it's extreme. This person would not be able to do this and that type of thing. But I was mostly wondering about the fibromyalgia being it's on the SSA's list it seems like it's on its own, but then I have all these other things that actually have prognoses and diagnoses attached to it, like transverse myelitis and a few other things in the back with nerve damage and such, that they attribute these situations for that, if that would cause more of a, you know, administrative issue with putting a claim in. That, you know, hopefully that makes sense.
Okay, so just to kind of go through some basics real quick, fibromyalgia has never been like a listing. You know what I mean? It's just not. It'll never be a listing. It's like
okay. I thought it was. Sorry.
Yeah, no, but that's so. The thing that I would say first and foremost is, what do you believe is your most severe impairment? Like, what out of all of them, which one's the most severe?
My most severe is my transverse myelitis causing fecal incontinence, which I do have electronic spinal stenosis implants, trying to control it, and we're working on that. The other one is my back issues, the 7 discs with degenerative disc disease, 3 herniated discs, and causing balance and lung pain. In fact, I've started opioid patch treatments with bupropion transdermal system.
Can you drive a car?
Currently, yes, but there's been times which I've actually had to pull over for a while.
Okay, walk me through the details.
That does scare me.
Why would you have a tough time driving a car? Just the bullet points.
I get stressed out in heavy traffic, and I'll end up getting a migraine. Migraines are about they're come down since I stopped drinking about a year ago to about 5 a month. But I have Seppertin, or whatever it's pronounced, a medication for it, but it takes about a half an hour to kick in.
So,
and I've tried some other things, but that's the only thing that's been working so far.
Okay. So I guess one of the big things that I would say to you is are you the type of guy where I can feed it to you straight and just give you the reality? Or are you the type of guy where you like a little bullshitting and I make it feel nice and sugary? And
Nope.
No, okay.
Beat me up. Beat me up, Walter.
All right.
I'm that guy.
All right. So bottom line is, I mean, first thing you're going to be talking about with your particular issues, getting in and out of the car, having to look at the mirrors, having a hard time looking forward, having a hard time looking back. Every bump you experience, the pain that you feel all over your entire body, difficulty controlling your bowels, you having to stop often, what you have to go through to get in and out of the vehicle because of how your body locks up, difficulty with fine manipulative features of your fingers, being able to go ahead and press buttons, being able to shift the car, being able to go ahead and put it in park to begin with, being able to turn the key.
Seatbelt.
Yeah, seatbelt. So my point to you is, with your combination of impairments, I don't think the judge is going to deem you to be a fibro solely. You know, you're a fibro because they put that down as a medical prescription because you've got all these problems all over your body that would create all these sensitive spots. I don't think that's going to be your issue. I would say leave it on. And the reason why is when we say like arthropathy, that's like pain in a bunch of locations, right? And
Yep.
then like the super version of arthropathy would be like fibro in some way. And so the point I'm getting at is, if they're giving you that diagnostic impression on top of all these other things, they're trying to add to the pile. Now, your particular thing, for the back issues, how many surgeries have you had on your back?
Well, I just had 2 months ago, I went in for a surgical consult, and they told me it was not bad enough, even though my CTs and MRIs came back and was rated out of moderate into severe. It's not severe enough to justify surgery for the potential issues that could come of it, to go and work with the pain pharmacist and stay with that and come back 6 months later.
So then it's a good thing you have an additional fibro on your diagnostic impression now, because you just got downgraded when they actually took a look with images on your back.
Right.
Okay. All right. You have your answer. You know what I mean? Like, but again, you got to work on your testimony shaping, because, I mean, have you already been to the CEME where you went to their consultative examination medical expert?
Nope. I haven't done any of that. I'm working on I haven't even done my initial yet.
Okay. All right. So get that going, because, the game is to get it filed, because you're going to have to wait, because, they've retired a lot of people,
Yeah, saw that.
Yeah. So, but all right. Excellent. Good start. I'm going to take the next caller. You have a wonderful, wonderful night. And please remember, if I helped you out, consider liking, subscribing, and starring. Yeah.
5 stars, Walter. Thank you.
Thank you, good sir. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Perfect. We're going to go ahead and take the next caller real quick. Remember, if I help you with these, please consider liking, subscribing, putting some stars up there. You go to Google, type in Disability Resolution Law Firm, Disability Resolution Florida. We did miss a call real quick. I'm going to call that person back. It is super late, so I'm going to be more proactive with finding calls where people called in. We'll hopefully be able to get them on the phone and get them rolling with the live session. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. We are live on YouTube. Remember to use a fake name throughout this process. What is your legal question? Go ahead.
Hey, Walter. I had a question. I'm currently on Social Security disability, and I just had a quick question, if that was okay. I don't know if you answer questions for people who are currently on it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a review right now, and it's kind of complicated because I had a interview a couple months ago, and I got a letter saying they were canceling it this coming month. But I talked to them today, and they had no record of my interview. And I went through the whole thing, and they said I was fine. And they said, no, there was no record. They didn't put any notes in your file. So I have another interview coming up this week, but I'm just wondering if that's something that's common.
Wait, you have a secondary
I can elaborate
interview?
a little more.
Wait, so you went through a CDR, and the group that called you back didn't know about the first interview?
Yeah, it's very strange. I've never missed anything. I've supplied all my documentation, so I don't know if that's a normal thing that you've heard of.
So, all right. All right. So just to make sure, you're on disability benefits, you had a CDR, the CDR basically didn't happen. Some other group called you and said they didn't realize you had the original meeting, and now they're setting up another meeting.
Right.
I mean, that to me is just scheduling mistakes, or it could have been that somebody, put you in the wrong calendar or whatever.
So, I mean, when they say they're going to end the benefits, like they've currently ended them. They gave me a notice saying that my health care was going to be ended too. So is that something that's simply like fixed?
I mean,
like just technical error?
I mean, if they're ending your benefits, when they originally notified you of the interview process and they said, hey, we're going to go ahead and, end your benefits or whatever. I guess the thing that I'm getting at with you is, did they go straight from, hey, we just want to do an interview to, hey, we're going to go ahead and remove your benefits?
No, they did it. They said they needed some information because my wife actually works and I'm disabled and I've been disabled for 5 years. And, every year or two they do this where they want to get more information, and I'm not going to get into all that, but I did all that. And then when I called them back, they said I was fine. When I called them back and said, hey, this is going on, they were telling me that there was no record of me doing the interview, which is just like a review of details for her income, basically. So it's kind of a weird situation. It's kind of messed up. But I had another question. I just want to start with that.
Are you an SSI or SSDI?
SSI. Sorry.
That's why. All right, that's why. So yeah, they're pulling benefits because she earned over the deeming process, and as a result,
no, she didn't.
She didn't?
No, she didn't. They just didn't have the record of me calling and straightening that out. It's a very technical thing. Like,
well, how am I missing this? You called them. How's that going to fix her earning over a certain amount?
Well, here, I think this might clarify it. She filed a tax extension, like for filing her taxes.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think that's where it was coming in.
So she filed a tax. So, I mean, is she an employee someplace or is she on her own business?
Self-employed, yeah.
All right, that's where the fund's going to be. And you're saying, and she's saying she didn't actually earn as much as she did, yada yada yada, and now they're ready to cut off the benefits.
They just want to cut it off for not like notifying them. But she filed the taxes and everything. Is going to submit them, and I'm hoping to clear this all up this week. But I just was seeing if there was anything you can add to it. But I had another question too. I just want to start with that. Well, I apologize for not.
You want to keep your benefits going, right?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a new form that came out like a week ago. Let me find it real quick. Hold on.
Okay.
Because you're going to want to fill this out. Yeah, it's the SSA 792 form. SSA 792 form. You're going to submit that to them. The other thing, too, is that if they were moving to remove your benefits that quickly without receiving notifications from, and I mean, you're saying they didn't get your call to say that she was filing her taxes late. I mean, how late are these taxes?
They did get the call. She filed an extension, and now she has them done, but they did get the call. That's the thing. I did what I was supposed to, but the person on the phone didn't log the notes properly.
But how old are these taxes?
On their end.
Like, when were these taxes supposed to be filed?
At the deadline, you file an extension if they're not done.
Are we talking about 2023 taxes, 2024 taxes? That's what I'm getting at here.
Well, it's the previous year, yeah.
So it's 2024 taxes.
Yeah.
If they're this much up in a bunch over 2024 taxes, then you might be getting investigated. So I would just be careful and tread lightly, because to be fair, they shouldn't be ready to pull these benefits that hard, that fast for 2024 taxes. If we're talking 2023 taxes, 2022 taxes, then yeah, you know what I mean? They're gonna, hey, what the hell? But if we're talking like 2024 taxes, you're not even at the moment where you've reached, the extension yet. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So like, I'd be careful at this, because if they're that interested for 2024, that's not a good sign.
Well, I'll have to double check on it. Maybe it is for 2023, because she does it. I'm not the one doing it. You know what I mean?
I mean, if it's 2023, then yeah, they're going to be all over this. They're
okay.
going to be, yeah.
Well, I'll double check that. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Perfect. What's the other question real quick?
It was just about the mental health aspect, like going about getting, like, I have long-term diagnosis, but my records are old. And I wanted to see what, like, a good way of going about getting diagnosis for that would be, because currently the place that I'm that I'm going to for mental health, it's not like an actual, I think, what does that have to be? A psychiatrist?
So like a lot of people found disabled, 15, 20 years ago, they were just going to their, general practitioner or like a therapist, master level provider or whatever. Nowadays, you got to have a psychiatrist, psychologist, behavioralist, a specialist for mental review. And they're usually looking for some inpatient medical treatment where the medication failed, the therapy failed, where you go in as a result of it. Now, if you were found disabled a long time ago, you probably are not at the severity level of what they require today, and they're required to follow the rules and regulations of back in the day. But that doesn't mean the culture of the SSA isn't going to change so drastically that we end up in a situation where, they're coming out with a weird determination on you where you then have to go get an attorney, yada, 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 and go through the whole schmutz. So I guess the point I'm getting at with this whole thing, just structurally is go get a psychiatrist, go get a behavioralist, go to them 4 or 5 times, and then from there get them to fill out RFC letters. That's going to be your most basic, simple thing to do that would equate to an outcome that I think you would like.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely, good sir. Sounds good. I will catch you later. You have a wonderful, wonderful night.
Thank you. I appreciate your help.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. There's a giant bug in here. I don't know if you guys saw my eyes following this thing around, but it tried to eat me. It literally tried to eat me right there. Super big thank you to Mark Vietti with the $20 donation. Walter equals super high IQ. I super appreciate that. That's really nice of you because, like some people are nice to me and then some people on YouTube are so mean. They're like, oh, and it's just, but that builds me up. And sometimes I need you guys to build me up because man, it's, oh my goodness. All right, we got the next caller that I may have just, there we go. Speaker is on. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. We are live. Remember to use a fake name throughout this process. What is your legal question? Go ahead.
Yeah, hi there. So I have a partial favorable, and I was reading over the document they sent me, and it looks like they ignored my mental RFC. Got pretty much every single box is marked except for a couple. Autistic, of PTSD, anxiety issues. And I also have some back problems that kind of turn into nerve damage. But I guess what I'm trying to ask is that if I appeal a partial favorable, do I get the monthly payments while the process is continuing or no?
You can, but they reserve the right to take them back and deny your benefits. That's the trick here. When you appeal one of these, well, you put it on the line,
So they really can actually just deny the claim entirely instead of going through with how it was initially filed as partial favorable?
It's spicy, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty spicy. Is that pretty common or is that kind of rare?
I've had both. I mean, I've done a lot of claims. Like I've had claims where, so here's the problem. A lot of people live in this goofy, loony land where they tell themselves, as long as I'm severely disabled, nobody will ever touch my benefits and I'll be found disabled. And those people in their delusion, and I love them dearly, they harm a lot of people because they get people hopped up on this ideology that the SSA operates as an accurate, smooth, well-oiled machine. If you get 2 different judges, you can get 2 different decisions. If you get 4 different judges, you can get 4 different decisions. So what I'm trying to say to you is you are taking the dice and you are rolling them. And you are hoping and praying that partially favorable, which is probably, let me guess, it was when you turned 50, 55. Like how old are you right now?
Yeah, don't be mad. I'm 43.
All right. So you didn't get a grid out. So bottom line is, like, you got to realize you appeal this. The likelihood of you getting a judge. Let me ask you this. Is your date last insured? Like, are you on SSDI benefits with the partially favorable?
I haven't received my first payment, but yes.
All right. But obviously, they found your amended alleged onset dates before your date last insured, right? So you are going to be going on to SSDI benefits, correct?
Yes, sir.
You're under 50, man. You roll that dice, you're putting a lot on the line. And let me ask you this. What is the percentage of likelihood that you could go back to work in case this all falls to shit?
I 0.
What is the percentage of likelihood that somebody will be able to take care of you no matter what happens if you file this appeal?
Pretty minimal.
Your decision is very easy. I know you don't realize it yet because you're living in that la la land, that delusional.
No,
and I don't mean it mean. Yeah. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just, man, people are like, I'm disabled. Feel the burn.
How it is. I appreciate.
Yeah. But like, if you don't, if this doesn't come out right, I had a guy who was a great salesman and I could feel myself getting sold. And I know what that feels like when they have that like Jedi level, they can convince anybody to do shit. This guy had it. And I asked him, I was like, let me ask you something. All right. I won his claim and we didn't get the alleged onset date that I wanted, that he wanted, whatever. And I asked him, I said, look, let me ask you something. This goes to shit. Is your wife going to work? Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. When I married her, I told her and I promised her that she was going to go ahead and not have to work, that she was going to be able to raise a family. And that was her job. And for the rest of her life, she wasn't going to have to work. Granted, the kids are old now, they're grown up, blah, 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 whatever. Okay. But if you lose your benefits because you get a different judge and the judge doesn't like you, doesn't like your claim, doesn't like the impairment list, right? The set list for the show, he doesn't like it. It's not in the genre that he prefers out of the people he's going to approve that day. Okay. Is your wife going to work then? Oh, absolutely not. Of course not. Of course she won't. Did I help him appeal that claim? No. Did he ultimately do it? Yes. Do I know how it turned out? No, because he knows. I told him, if you screw this up, I'm not going to fix it for you because I told you where the breaking point was. And I knew where the problems were with his claim. And I knew where the judge leaned his way when it could have leaned the other way. But my point to you is, if you don't have somebody that is devoted to you and works and wants to see you happy no matter what, pays for your housing and your food and your water and all that jazz, if you don't have a sugar mama, or it could be, I don't know which way you swing, could be a sugar daddy. I'm not going, hey, I'm not going to, somebody in the comment will be like, you didn't say sugar daddy. Hey, look, it is what it is, But if you don't have a person, let's call it a sweet treat in the, in the part of your life that will help you get through tough times. If you don't have that, man, and let me explain what happens. They disagree with you. They end the benefits. They send you an overpayment for the benefits they paid you. Okay. Now you're out of money. You don't have any new money. You got a overpayment due to the U.S. Treasury, which is the last group you want to owe money to. Like, out of all the people you want, I would rather owe money to Iran than I would the U.S. Treasury. Okay? Because the U.S. Treasury always ends up getting paid some way. Okay? They got a harder grasp on money than Medicaid does. And Medicaid will take your house, So, point is, what I'm saying here, you know what you got here. You got an approval as an under 50. I'm sure you're disabled, no doubt about it. But if you don't get a judge that likes it and you don't have somebody that's going to take care of you, your decision is made for you. It's
and
tough.
whoever reviews the appeal, that's actually the a different ALJ, or is it somebody who's above? It's the appeals council, isn't it?
Yeah, you get an AC review from an AAJ. It's usually multiple AAJs, and they could find an error that the judge made in law or fact, where you don't meet whatever the requirements were. I mean, man, look, you could win it too. How much back pay are you looking at winning out of this thing if it goes your way? How much extra back pay?
60 to 70,000.
$60,000 to $70,000. Okay, life-changing amount, very important. Now, what's better? You get 60, 70 grand after waiting, let's say, another year and a half to 2 years, or you face the potential of losing everything, owing the federal government all the money while you were receiving in an overpayment. And now you have to take it to federal court, federal district court, hoping that you get a remand back to the AAJs, who might remand it back to the ALJ. And this thing will continue for another 3 to 5 years. I don't know how good your claim is, but by you not saying anything real quick, it either means A, you got a great claim, like a bedbound claim, a blind claim, a quadriplegic claim, not like I have anxiety, not like I have some spinal issues here and there. I have degenerative disc disease.
I'm autistic with nerve damage. I mean, I have severe walking issues. I was paralyzed for almost 6 months while I was getting spine surgery after surgery. So, I mean, it you know how these things are. One person's gold is another person's poop.
That's it. You got it. And man, I'm going to tell you, remember, they don't fight fair. They're going to send you to some doctor that's going to say you have proper communication skills. You're able to state the days of the week backwards, the months of the year backwards. You're able to, you know what I mean? They probably gave it to you because your surgery showed and created a whole worse situation. But I mean, let me ask you this. When's your next CDR?
I haven't even received my first check, and the letter says CDR at 18 months is recommended.
At 18 months? You said 18 months?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if it's in 18 months, what does that tell you?
They want to keep a close eye on me, is what I'm feeling like.
They expect improvement, and such improvement is likely to show that you're no longer as impaired as you used to be, that which they used to find you disabled in the first place on the date that they did.
Well, I've got an EMG that shows nerve damage. It's not going to heal in 18 months, is my understanding. And autism's not going away.
Autism is not going away. It's not. But what is coming your way is a doctor that is not your friend. How well do you think you would do with a doctor that is not your friend?
Well, I mean, I do all the socially awkward things that get me fired from jobs. So, I mean, I don't know if that would be that bad.
Man, remember how I talked about that delusion? How I was like, man, somebody, you believe it. You know you're disabled because you know, not because the code said so, not because the listings, the grid out potentials, the vocational allowance options through the DOT, not any of that jazz. It's because you know you've been fired a lot. But if I gave you a simple job at an orange juice factory where you had to press a button, you could do that job. Right? I mean, for the most part, it's a big button. Every 30 minutes, you got to press the button. You could do that job.
Well, I have an attempted or a work attempt that says I can't, but that really isn't given any credence by the ALJ. Pretty much none of my evidence short of the EMG is given any value at all.
What does that tell you about the judge?
She's pretty strict. She's about a 50-50 judge. So,
well, a 50-50 judge is a high percentage passage rate. A regular judge is 42% passage rate. You got a 50-50, that's a high percent passage rate judge. You don't want to mess with that. All right, let me spell it to you from another perspective because we're over the 30 minutes, so I'm going to take another minute. Let's say you're a judge, okay? And now all of a sudden an under 50-year-old that she leaned over. Now remember, judges get reviewed for approving people who are under 50 years old. So she put herself in danger for you, okay? And then you appeal her decision, go up to her bosses, the AAJs. They remand it back down and tell her to fix something. How do you think
She's going to be upset.
Yeah, what is the emotional effect that that will have on that judge?
Probably not going to be very good.
It's not going to be very
She might
good.
feel disappointed.
So you got it, man. You got it. You know, and remember, I'm not trying to sell you off of this. I'm just, you know what I mean? And I guess to some degree,
I wanted to hear the truth. That's why I called you.
Yeah, I want you to know why it works the way it works. A lot of people are like, well, the code says this. After doing this law for a very long time, I can tell you the code is usually applied, but there's like a culture, and that culture dictates how they apply the code and when they apply it. You know?
The people helping me through this needed to hear that. I kind of wanted to get your answers recorded so I can play it back for them. Like,
sure, yeah.
You know, obviously the people who've been paying for me this whole time want to see me get some back pay. So I just need everybody else that's helping me out to kind of hear what I'm dealing with. Because I know what you're saying, but to get somebody who's not in this world to understand that is really difficult. I've been listening to you for years now.
That's awesome. Well, hey man, play it back to them, get their take on it. But that's why I do these little mini consultations, because you guys get to access my brain. I get to stretch my brain by, seeing other situations. Although a lot of the situations that come through the phone are versions of what I've done many, many times. Although I will say this, those 1 hour consultations that I do, I get some weird stuff through those. Like I get some I gotta go look up the statute and read it word by word, see where they place the commas, stuff like that, because I get some weird stuff through that. I mean, weird stuff, like out there stuff.
If I paid you for an hour and you dug through my file and info, you might come across a conclusion that I'd want to hear? Or do you think that everything's going to be denied for me no matter what because of the age?
So here's what I'd be looking for, your particular file. I'd be looking at what the major medical tests were that basically were, showing the signs. So, symptoms are like, a thing that is, created from an impairment, whereas signs are like specific things that could be measured from that impairment by science. So I'd be looking
from MRIs and EMGs.
Yeah, that stuff, and also a mental assessment test, stuff like that are valid and hold water with these judges. Seeing what you have on file, that's what I'd be looking for. And then I'd look at the timeline. I'd structure it as to before you applied, when you applied, what your alleged onset date was, what your date last insured was, what the judge chose, and I'd look at the timelines. I'd say, did the judge make a proper choice? Is the judge approving you but CYAing her butt? Or is this a situation where you don't have the stuff going backwards in time? You do have the stuff going backwards in time, stuff like that. But, look, you have to first get over the first step of this, which is, are you willing to take the risk? Because even if I find good evidence, that does not get you out of the problem of, are you willing to take the risk? It might increase the likelihood that you're willing to take a risk, but it doesn't get you past the same issues that judge might still do down the line. Because remember, when they send you to another doctor, these judges know which doctors roll their way or kind of roll down the middle. And they send you to a doctor that's not going to roll your way, then you got a problem. And if you were approved because you had medical severity, symptoms, and signs as a result of medical treatment or surgery that over time could, reduce in severity, which obviously they think you do because you got an 18-month CDR, then that the judge approved you you know, by the thickness of the hair. You know, you're not a CDR with 5 years on the line, 7 years down the line. You know, you're a CDR 18 months down the line.
Well, these documents are kind of complicated. It says 7 years, but it also says 18 months. So I don't actually know how to.
What are you thinking? What's your take on it?
I think I need to pay you for an hour. Do you do a half hour instead of a full hour, or do you need the entire hour to dig deep?
I mean, all of my hours, so I'd say probably 5% don't need a full hour. Everybody else needs more than an hour. And I end up always doing an hour and 10 or an hour and 15 minutes.
So you would need the full hour. Okay.
I mean, I don't need it. I can figure out what you need to know and feed it to you real quick. But the reality is, you guys are the ones that always have questions to follow up. I mean, here's the thing. So what a lot of people do is, you know, they have their initial question, and then they realize they're going down a different road than they thought. And then they have 20 other questions. And, you know, man, I've had people hire me for like 9-10 hours, like one person and 9-10 hours of that person to figure something out. I've also had people that needed an answer, and within 15 minutes, they're like, cool, that's all I needed. Bye. I was like, okay, you know.
I think your experience is invaluable, and
Thank you.
it's just difficult to find people like you that are knowledgeable and willing to be honest about it. Okay, well, I hope there's another caller. I really appreciate your help. You're helping me.
Absolutely, good sir. You know, catch up. Do your thinking on this thing. Write it out, because I know a lot of people they write it out, each thing, each argument. Write it out. Go through the recording, and then catch up with me, and we'll rock and roll from there. You can always do another one of these 5-minute consultation thingies too. That's fine too.
No, I think you've answered all my questions. I really appreciate your help, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely, good sir. Have a wonderful night.
You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Perfect. So we're going to do basically that as our official last caller of the night. It is 2:36 a.m. on Tuesday, June 24th. I just saw Pi, and I haven't seen Pi in forever. Just wanted to check in. We always had great talks about stuff and everything like that. But basically, yeah, you got to reach out to me because, you know, like I know tons of vets and things like that. So, you know, not saying that you haven't already. I know you love your little piggies as well, just like I do. But I mean, I'm literally up in New Jersey right now because I was taking Shadow to the top surgeon in Ohio at the it's a university veterinarian practice, but he's the top surgeon that does hip replacements. And then he wasn't a candidate for a hip replacement. But I know how you are. That's how I am with my little fur babies, my little chubby monkeys. But yeah, Sweetie had surgery in 2024 for cancer, and then 2 TPLOs where they cut the leg in half in the back and then rotate it, put it on, you know, hardware back together and yada, yada. But yeah, definitely catch up with me because a piggy saved is a piggy loved. So anyways, I will catch you guys all a little bit later. You have an amazing and wonderful, wonderful week. I hope you're doing well. And what else? We're going to be doing a lot with the music stuff in the not too distant future. The actual sound stage is almost built and is almost ready. Joining the sound stage very soon is going to be a 1955, not all original, there's some stuff of that, but a 1955 Fender Twin Tweed. And I'm just really excited about, you know, going back to music and having disabled people, you know, show us what they've got with their talent. And, you know, basically you guys get to, you know, have them as like these halftime shows. You get to talk about what's good, what's bad. You get to be like your own little version of a judge and say what you like, what you don't like. And good or bad, it's going to be helpful to the artist. So anyways, I'll catch you all a little bit later. Please remember to like, subscribe, go over to Google, type in Disability Resolution Law Firm or Disability Resolution Florida. Throw some stars up there. We always appreciate that. Also, super important, please remember that we do the live shows on Mondays and Thursdays. And then you got the 1 hour contract below. If you want to hire me to work on your disability claim, totally fine. Same gig, law firm phone number, just give it a call. You might get me, you might get somebody else. This week, you're going to get less of me because I'm up in New Jersey. So like I have to basically work after 5, or sorry, I work on the farm after 5. So I don't have as much time to answer the calls as I normally do because I have to do briefs, motions, all that stuff. But I will catch you a little bit later. You have a wonderful night, and we will rock and roll from there. And please, please, please take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself. Take care of all the wonderful things in your life. I will catch you later. Have a wonderful night, and we'll go from there. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.